What is the truth of marriage?
The truth of marriage. Such a deeply personal question, that one, really, because a very subjective question, really, because marriage could mean so many different things. So marriage, it's very subjective because it could actually mean totally different things to people, and what it means for me might be very different for what it means to you. So I don't know that I can actually answer that truthfully, because there's not necessarily one truthful answer as to what marriage is, because marriage is an idea. And so marriage as an idea that translates into our relationships, if for you marriage is where you have an open relationship, well, that's marriage for you. It may be intimacy, it may be union, it may be being exclusive. So is there a different question that you want to ask about marriage? Because marriage, the word by its very nature, if we look in different cultures, and marriage means so many different things, that there isn't one answer to what's the truth of marriage. It may be a different question.
What I was thinking about was divine marriage.
Divine marriage.
That the earthly marriage is a human copy of the divine marriage.
Yeah, how beautiful.
That's where I was coming from.
Beautiful, yes, because people that are, us in the room and people listening in, if we're trying to give a definition of what marriage is, then that's not useful, because as I said, marriage shows up in so many different ways for different people, different cultures. But the marriage of the divine. So really, this is the union of self here, regardless of the other, and then seeing the other as self showing up in relationship, whether it's marriage or not. And so then our focus is taken off the other. Our focus is taken off the marriage, not as in it's unimportant or the other is unimportant. More, our focus is attending to what's necessary here. This grace, this opening, this meeting, this union. And so you use the words divine marriage. This with self, with God, with grace. The ultimate union. So then if we say that, the ultimate marriage. And then the incredible blessing of this that translates into a union, or marriage, if we call it that, into a union, no matter how that union shows up, no matter how it is in the different cultures or traditions, that this grace here, this, it's so beautiful to hear that, the marriage to the self is really so precious, the only marriage really worth having. And I'm saying that with my husband in the room, but this marriage that's only worth having here translates into the relationship, and the relationship then flourishes in this that's truthfulness, and so you can't see on the camera, but and he's also nodding in agreement with that the preciousness here first. And I'm not speaking of that could be misconstrued as selfishness, as in I'm not sure what other word to use for that.
Eccentric.
Yes, only my needs. I'm not speaking of that. I'm speaking of the surrendering of that individual self and needs to this divine grace, that you and this that you are is inseparable. This then is what lives in the marriage, in the physical marriage. Yeah. So then you get to, so on one level, selfish, yes, because you're giving your attention to true self, not to a needy self. And having said that as well, you know, we do have needs that need addressing: sleep, food, rest, shelter. As human beings, a social, some form of social interaction. But this that is the divine marriage is untouched by that and is filled by that. Often people are wanting to be filled by marriage, to be filled by relationship, that it will give something. And I can say, you know, in the past that would have been true here too. You know, that the marriage or the relationship would give something. But then when you see the truth of that it's not the case, that it causes pain and suffering, that this true relationship is first. So in our marriage vows were to be true to truth. Yeah. So whether you're contemplating a physical marriage with someone else, or whether you're in a physical marriage with someone else, or out of a marriage, it's worth contemplating, am I married to truth? So regardless of your marriage status in the world or your relationship status in the world, am I married to truth first? Is my relationship to self, to God, to truth, to grace first? It's worth contemplating. You know, and I'm not here to say, oh, you should have the answer yes to that question. I'm not here to say that. This is a discovery that if truth, grace, this freedom that's already here living is what your deepest desire is, then it's definitely worth contemplating, because you might actually see, I say that truth is paramount, that truth is first, but when I inquire, I discover that it's not. So it's worth investigating. Who am I married to? Am I married to my mind? Am I married to my emotions? Am I married to the sensations? Am I married to identity? Am I married to an idea of marriage? You know, it can be painful, challenging to have that as a realization if we discover that we are. So what if instead I give my attention to the divine marriage, to truth? Wow. And then we get to see how life is lived here. Beautiful, beautiful.